Welcome back to the LCS Lounge. Special guest today, Steven Auker, the champion designer on Naafiri, is here to show us what type of champion do you expect this to play as?
So Naafiri is an assassin, a mid lane assassin. So we wanted a champion that would be like fairly easy to pick up, fairly forgiving in the assassin space, and that's what Naafiri is.
Awesome. Let's hop in game and give me just like a quick rundown on the basic abilities.
Yeah. So Naafiri's passive is We Are More. She always has her packmates with her. These packmates will follow her. They'll follow her abilities.
How do the packmates die?
They can be killed like any other minion. So they have health bars. They can be hit by skill shots, just any way you would kill a minion. So packmates will attack the targets of whoever you attack, and they respond to all of your abilities. They have a different kind of response to all of those abilities. They'll follow you around. When you jump into a bush, they'll also leap into the bush and hide with you, so you don't have to worry about them giving away your assassin plays.
Yeah, so the Q, I saw it's a double cast.
Yes.
And it's probably a pretty long range ability, actually.
It's a similar range to ZQ. When you cast the first one, anyone it hits will take a little bit of damage and it'll apply a bleed for 5 seconds. Then you can cast it again, and if you hit a target that was already bleeding, then it will pop that bleed, dealing all of the remaining bleed damage instantly, and then extra execute damage based on their missing health. If the enemy is a champion, you also get a heal, so this is a great way to poke and sustain in lane. W is one of her signature abilities. Yeah, so it's a long-range targeted dash. The way we like to describe it is it's like a Caitlyn ult, but you are the bullet. And that means enemies can actually block this dash. So it's one of the...
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You can use it on non-champion targets, and that's actually a great way to escape in the moment. E is a short-range, non-targeted dash. It has 2 hitboxes. So the first is the dash itself, and then the second is the landing. When you E, it also teleports all packmates, so I can get far away from my packmates, but then if I E, they'll come back. So they'll stop whatever they're doing, immediately teleport back to you.
And E goes over walls?
E will definitely go over walls.
But I imagine it's more like a Tristana jump than like a flash. So if you're halfway over a wall, it will just reject you, or you get a longer
one? The thicker walls you're gonna have a harder time getting over. But for most of the thin walls in the game, it's pretty easy to jump over.
And the ultimate as well went through a couple different iterations. How did you settle on the one that we have here?
So right now, she kind of goes full beast mode. The hunt begins. She spawns more packmates as the ult levels up. She gets more and more and more. And by level 16, she can have up to 7 packmates, which will follow everything she's doing. So a lot of packmates, they will all, I think one thing I didn't mention is that they'll actually follow the target of her Q. So you can have them mob whoever you want.
Right, so many ways to redirect your packmates. The Q, the E, jumping over walls, auto attacks.
So her basic combo, probably in lane, is gonna be a Q into Q2, very simple. That's your poke. If you're wanting to all in, start with a Q, W in, E, finish with a Q.
Right, and then the second Q is so close, you're probably gonna get it and detonate all the bleed.
Yep, exactly. Because the Q has execute damage on the second half, if you're doing an all-in combo, you wanna get as much damage as possible on the target in between Q1 and Q2 in order to get the big execute at the end.
Is there anything else you wanna mention about Naafiri before we wrap up?
I guess I'll just say, on the ultimate, don't discount the vision it gives you. That can be really powerful for checking barons, checking dragons, and engaging, and then using her W to follow up. So as an example here, let's say the team is doing baron. I can use my ult to check baron, and then head in. Yeah. So that can be like a very fun moment and really contributes to.
And that's like a little bit of the depth of like, here's this ability that allows you to play with vision, which is a really complicated part of the game.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. All right, well, Steven, Riot Raptor, thank you very much for showing us all about Naafiri.
No problem.
Thanks for joining us. Naafiri!
Naafiri!
She's cool.
That W looks crazy. I'll say
Yeah.
it. I'll say it. It looks
We'll
crazy.
See. We'll see, Mark.
All right, we will see. But before then, we're going to have to watch NRG versus C9 coming up next. And this is a banger matchup if you're not familiar. These two teams, every time they play, ends up being surprisingly close. And in particular, actually, if you just look at the win rates, it says everything.
Yeah, the kryptonite of C9? Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, 3 and 4 is still like not that bad, but when you consider they have a 73% win rate against all other teams across a complete 2-year span, 2 years of this, it's pretty surprising.
Yeah, it is important that we say this is during regular season because obviously C9 was the team that, as CLG, this NRG team kept going up against and like getting so close to finishing them off in I want to say 2 and 3 best of 5s.
Yeah.
So even in those where C9 was like heavily favored, they were able to like trade blows enough to make it look really, really close.
Yeah, there was one that it was a full 5-game series, and then C9 didn't have a 5-game series the rest of the way or something like that.
Yeah.
But I think it speaks to the fact that even in the losses, it's still very close, and a 60% win rate in best of 5s is still worse than the 73% through best of 1. So obviously NRG plays them really close. I think there's just cool matchups in there as well. The fact that you have Contractz versus Blaber seems to have the craziness to match up with the early game of Blaber, has a history of also playing on C9 to get his start back in the day. He was the original young jungle prospect that C9 kind of brought up.
Yeah, I mean, I think the big thing is we see the stats of Blaber going up against Contractz versus Blaber going up against everyone else. It's funny because talking to Blaber, he's just like, yeah, Contractz is so annoying, man. Like, he's just always there. And I remember that one specific game that kind of locked NRG into playing a tiebreaker later for 3rd this past spring, where Contractz just ran all over the map on Sejuani. Like, he was in every single one of his lanes. He ended up stealing the first Drake, I think, so that C9 were unable to get be on Soul Point earlier. And this is, in my opinion, the biggest like individual matchup between these two teams, just because Contractz seems to read Blaber really well.
And also, I think Blaber is still making his case for MVP. I think that's going to be a bigger conversation. River had a massive game earlier today.
Oh boy.
But Blaber has been very good all split long, kind of the efficiency king.
Did you know he's 13-0 on Maokai?
He reminds
Wow, what a
everyone
surprise.
that he's 13-0 on Maokai in his career. Never lost to Maokai, guys. He's really good.
And then also says how he doesn't want to play it ever again because Maokai is really boring.
I think he's trying to mind control his coaches because they want to troll him. So he's
Yeah.
like, oh, no, guys, not another Maokai game.
You don't win many MVPs playing Maokai, but Blaber plays enough not Maokai that his stats are still incredibly impressive. He has got the biggest CS differential of all junglers. He also has the most kills and assists at 14 on average, which is very impressive when you consider that people think Blaber is just this farming jungler. He's just very efficient and very strong.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say is I feel like Blaber is really shattering the kind of what we have in our heads of who is this jungler, what are his strengths, because even as late as last split, we were pointing out, oh, he's so good at finding these counter jungle angles in a meta that didn't really allow for it all that much. But now he has been interacting with his lane super early and been farming super efficiently. So I think it's kind of turned on its head. Like, he has so much flexibility, and he's really showcasing it that split.
He always plays well, but I think the metas definitely dictate exactly how much he can do for his team. Last split, I think his most played, I can't remember if it was Vi or Wukong, but like more of a bruisery setup type. This split, it was Kindred, and he's insane at Kindred. He can 1v9 games on this champion. There's just a lot more carry potential out of the jungle, though we are memeing about the Maokai. He's actually popped off on a lot of champions. And I think it coincides, or it's not totally coincidental, that his solo lanes look like they've taken a step back this split, because I think he can play for himself a little bit more. And so people have remarked that Fudge and Emenes, who were basically first team All-Pro in a lot of people's minds last split, are probably not headed there for this split. But at the same time, Blaber might be MVP. So I think there is this interesting push and pull with resources in game for League of Legends for what they can do. We'll see if they're able to grab this one. Fans, we didn't get their vote during the pre-show because we had QTCinderella up there. Here's the fan vote. Statistically, that's not likely, given the fact that NRG actually has a winning record versus Cloud9 in regular season games for the last 2 years. Jat, what'd you predict?
I predicted C9.
What'd you predict, Emily?
C9.
Sheep! All of you are sheep. I predicted
Mark
NRG.
is 1 and 2 on predictions today.
Yeah.
I'm 3 and 0 on predictions today, Mark.
True.
Just letting you know.
You're easy. You're playing easy mode. Let's go to
I picked
casters.
FlyQuest correctly.
Go take us into the game.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Mark, come on, man. We all know you predict wrong on purpose. That's your shtick. But anyway, we got Raz up here for the desk for this game. How you doing, buddy?
Thank you. I mean, I wanted to comment on the fact that that's just a weird shtick to have. To always try and go for the underdogs.
I also like how we're casting him last week, and he's like, "I'm gonna reveal later in the split what I was doing with my predictions." I was like, Mark, everyone knows you're just doing the wrong predictions every time. He's like, quiet.
The second time it was done, people were just giving him hell for it. But honestly, then he started just cleaning house with the upset days that were happening. So we're losing out on that for that reason.
I mean, hey, maybe it'll be a viable strategy after all, but this is sort of one of the phenomenons here. And hey, Mark, what's
It's
up?
Mark here.
You got something to say, Mark?
Yeah, do you have something you'd like to comment here? All right, share.
People
Raz.
definitely didn't notice because in the Reddit thread for the dive where you're saying it was so obvious, people were incorrectly responding in the comments with what my strat was. So you definitely are outing me before. But yes, you're right.
Okay, well, the people in the Reddit thread might not be the best judge of things. I'm just going to go ahead and say I've seen some interesting takes in Reddit threads before.
Fair.
Like, hey, no, I love the fans, but I don't love all of their takes, if you know what I mean. So let's get back to the matter at hand here, because we do have an interesting phenomenon here with what they were talking about. NRG just seeming to have the magic sauce against C9 to find wins against this team, even when they're looking way stronger than everybody else.
Yeah, I feel like Jat needs to do another conspiracy theory take because this is the one that takes it. I think NRG as a team throughout the few years have been great at prepping, usually with their larger coaching staff, best of ones. The last one that Emily referred to in their final week, last split, where it felt like Contractz was everywhere. He was top lane, then he was mid lane, then he was bot lane, then Dhokla TP bot lane. They understood how to break up the pace of Cloud9 quite well, and I think that Cloud9 now has an understanding how to play against them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I do think it's just been a fun matchup to watch, right? You know, it is one of those things where I just feel like NRG, formerly CLG, was one of the only orgs and one of the only squads that was willing to kind of like descend into the madness with C9, right?
Yeah.
You know, C9 is willing to take every single fight. So is NRG. C9 is willing to go really aggressive and have, you know, these really crazy early game plans. So is NRG, right? And they're going to kind of throw right back at you what your game plan is. And I think that's something that C9 isn't always as ready for, which to me was one of the recipes for success against this squad in specific.
And when you look at the bans for NRG here, they're banning out the Kindred Melio, which was one of those comps that C9 loved to run earlier on, back when Melio was super OP. You have Lucian Melio in bot lane, you have Kindred in the jungle, you just run over everybody with that. And they also ban out the Maokai, so preventing the two far ends of the spectrum in terms of jungling fun, the hard carry and Maokai. So Blaber's gonna have to be somewhere in the middle this time around, as C9 banned out Ivern, Sejuani, and Rumble. It's a first pick LeBlanc for NRG.
He's not allowed to have a ton of fun. He's not allowed to have no fun.
Yeah.
So we can just have some fun.
A little bit of fun.
Yeah.
I feel like when Blaber came out and said that he was 13-0 on the Maokai, his strat was to get it banned. He didn't want to play it anymore. It felt like that was the reason for it, just so Mithy had
It's
an
like, hey
easier
guys,
job.
it's a guaranteed loss for you if you don't ban Maokai.
Just saying.
Sure you don't want to ban this away? All right, Kai'Sa and Rell locked in for C9. Plenty of dive and engage power over here. Back over on the side of NRG, let's see how they want to respond to that. A lot of times, if I'm seeing some dive on one side, Xayah's a great answer on the other, and that's exactly what the doctor ordered for FBI, locking in the Xayah.
Yeah, Xayah has just been so popular throughout this split. You know, there's so many comps that are being full dive. Rell plus Kai'Sa pretty much showcases that you're going to go full dive in almost all scenarios. We've been seeing people draft full dive around it. So I do think it's a really strong pick here for FBI. You already have a pretty evasive mid laner with LeBlanc, and you now have a very difficult to pin down AD. So it could make C9's job a lot more difficult, you know, just target selection wise.
Yeah, 100%. One thing that I'm only concerned about is whenever early Xayah pick comes through, Cloud9 would usually answer with an Ashe and would just then try and prep for a three-wave dive.
So you think they might just move the Kai'Sa mid?
It might be. So that's my only other thought process. The other thing is usually they would have Emilio, good ban from NRG, so then there's a little less concern in the laning phase. You've seen the hover.
This did not work out too well last time
It
they
did
went
not.
to it. No.
Whatever. I would much rather see it, dude. Okay, so I know that I'm the president of the Vi Haters fan club. I am also the co-president of the Ashe Haters fan club.
Okay.
I feel like every time this gets locked in, I just watch it do ZDPS every team fight, practically healing the dude, and I just wish it was any other champion in the game.
I feel
except
like
for
Ashe
Vi.
gets a bad rap, man. Ashe actually does some real damage now. I don't think it's as low as people make it out to be.
Well, I'm all right.
I'll give you that it's a boring kit. I'll give you that.
I like to trust you because you're my friend and you're smart. But
W,
every time I
shoot
watch
some
this
arrows
champion,
out. Auto attack.
Man, come
shoot
on.
arrows at one person.
Yep.
E, shoot an arrow that sees thing. R, shoot an arrow that stuns thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of arrows
Q,
in the
shoot
kit.
arrows quickly. It's like, okay, guys, we could have been a little bit more creative on this one.
Hey, she was one of the originals, all right? Back
hitting
then,
the
the
theme.
themes
That was
were a
the
lot.
peak of character design back
a lot
then.
I mean, hey,
We're gonna
Annie's
have a
abilities-
character. And listen to me for a second. Hear me out.
Okay.
She'll shoot arrows.
Right, well, I mean, Annie's
else will she
abilities
do?
are
She'll shoot
fire,
arrows.
fire, fire, and fire.
It made
Like-
life easier reading kits. I will put that
That's
out
true.
there. Yes.
We can't all forget the great
Was
Nasus
it
as
the-
well.
the
Nasus
Wukong-
has 12% life.
Yeah,
steal.
with the Wukong passive or whatever. Like, Wukong gains armor and MR.
Back in the day. Let's see how the second half of the draft is looking out here. As C9, they decided to lock in the Poppy for themselves as that third pick. It's Tristana and Azir banned out by NRG, getting rid of a couple of those matchups that LeBlanc would otherwise not want to play into, while C9 gets Renekton off the table. That Fudge is loving that one, if nothing else, just for himself. He's happy to have it banned away from him. Viego also removed by C9 as Jayce will be locked in. I expect to see Emenes piloting that one, and that probably means that Berserker will be on the Kai'Sa instead.
Yeah, I think I love the Poppy here. Still a decent flex here between jungle and top lane. Just have to see what the fifth pick is going to be. But if it's going for Blaber, it's a good way to be able to punish what is a Rakan engage, as well as what we see here from the top lane if the K'Sante gets locked in.
Even Rell, right? Like they have 3 flex options here still. Like Poppy
Yeah.
could be jungle, could be top, could actually probably not support. Rell could be jungle or could be support. The Jayce could still theoretically be top or mid, so there is, a lot of flexibility here. The Kai'Sa could still be mid or AD, so there's a lot of different options here for Cloud9. And with the Jayce added in, they could theoretically grab like a third kind of poke champ. Like if they went, say, I don't know, like Ezreal bot or whatever,
yeah.
You can add in an additional poke champ or even like a Ziggs bot or something. You could then all of a sudden have 3 poke champs against Xayah, where Xayah can really start to struggle. She sees more against those hard engaged comps. So it is interesting. And back-to-back Amumu games after not having seen it like at all this split.
Yeah, what's being cooked up in scrims?
This is a scrim thing for sure then.
Yes. Almost has to be. The fact that we're seeing it now just a bit more.
Okay, the Gwen being hovered here by C9. This is Fudge's redemption. After being stuck in Renekton jail, he is now allowed to play Gwen instead. And they want to put that one up against the K'Sante, I'm sure. Reminder to everybody here, with the regular season coming to a close with only a couple days left to play, it's nearly time for the LCS playoffs starting next Thursday. We will be back for 3 weeks of double elim action as teams battle for a spot in the LCS Championship in Newark. Check out lolesports.com for more information. And hopefully, we are going to have some exciting playoffs. A lot of times, these best of 5s are where you get some of the best games of the whole year.
Absolutely. And pay attention to the days. We're changing days for
There it
playoffs.
is.
Some of the weeks are going to be on weekends. We're not going to be on Wednesdays.
No more Wednesdays, period.
Exactly.
Wednesdays are gone. If you're here on Wednesdays, you're not here on Wednesdays anymore after this week. This is the last
come on
Wednesday.
But you'd be just stuck outside in the parking lot.
Yeah,
And
it's really hot
probably wouldn't be
outside
that
in
interesting.
LA right now. I
Yeah.
do not want to sit in the parking lot with you, so
Maybe
don't come
Raz will
here.
be there, though.
Maybe I would
You're
be,
just going to be
honestly.
hanging out in the
Razzle's be
parking
posted
lot.
up in the parking lot.
This heads up was great because I'm sure randomly on the next Wednesday, me and Flowers would just walked in here and be like, where
They
is
won't let you
everybody?
in,
Yeah, please.
It's like, hey, man, where is everybody? All right, let's get into it. It's NRG versus Cloud9. A little bit of an update on the stakes here. Cloud9 will lock top 2 with a win. NRG kind of fighting from the same position that TSM was in the previous game, just wanting to make sure they maintain where they're at, not drop down to that 7th or 8th place spot and risk having to start in the lower bracket.
Yeah, absolutely. Would be a big lock-in here for Cloud9, get that top 2 spot. We'll see if they're going to be able to do it. Of course, you want to be able to finish as high as you can to guarantee an easier first opponent in that first round.
Yeah, and it's impressive to talk about because throughout the split, people have been talking about Cloud9's losses. A lot more losses that they've been dropping. So far 4, so it's not as bad as the commentary has been. And the fact they can lock in top 2 while also saying, hey, we have been experimenting with comps. We've been putting Zven more on engages. Fudge is on still Renekton duty, so maybe not too much experimenting up
We've
the
been
top side of the map.
experimenting with him on different Renekton skins,
True.
Project Renekton,
Stridebreaker Renekton versus Gore Drinker
Renekton.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe a little Blade the Rune King Renekton next week.
No, let's not get too adventurous here, all right? Come on, that's a pure damage item. I don't know.
Sure,
about that.
I apologize.
That's too much.
Well, one thing I do love to see is we have both of these engaged supports running Ignite this game. That means I expect to see a lot of roaming, hopefully some early playmaking. ganking, especially when you have a mid lane like LeBlanc versus Jayce and you have a Gwen up in the top side. I think all of these solo lanes have some big green lights floating above them. Yeah, some spice.
And it's not too surprising, at least for Cloud9. They have been pathing towards their bot lane, feels like just about every game, to the chagrin of Fudge, once again.
That's a good one.
It's Arthur meme words. Clench fist.
Yeah, clenching fist.
Blabber starts topside.
Arthur meme.
How could you?
Hey, now that's unmarked yellow shirt aardvark meme.jpg.
Yes.
Oh, of course. Yeah, we can't do that.
Talking about Arthur
PBS would attack
Chandra,
us.
our former,
Oh, yeah, love Arthur.
Former
Great guy. Great guy.
also known for clenching his fist.
Oh, Emenes. Nice. Popping the passive there on Palafox. I don't think you're really going to get a whole lot of value out of that since it's a 60-second cooldown and it'll probably be back up to high enough HP to not be under much threat. But I like how aggressive Emenes likes to play here in the mid lane with the Jayce.
Yeah, both chugging potions after this, making it volatile. Same with bot lane, as you can see.
FBI ignited, taking a lot of damage here, down to 200 HP as he backs away. Berserker and Zven winning out hard in the 2v2.
Yeah, and notice, Berserker is playing Cleanse. He just cleansed Ignite instantly, right? So wanted to keep his health high, wanted to just use that summoner spell there early. It is a trade of 2 summoners apiece, but FBI ends up a lot lower, a lot worse for wear there. I believe his heal came out after the Ignite was already down. He couldn't actually get that out before, and was too nervous to actually wait it out and use it after the Ignite expired. So at the end of the day, C9 get a great little trade.
Now,
Emenes could be in
Contractz get this gank in mid. Celebrated Shock Blast only hits minions, but Emenes can exit the side of the lane. Meanwhile, more damage on FBI, who has to flash away. Zven and Berserker maintaining their aggression in bottom lane to force these guys back as Blaber wraps around.
Yeah, you know what time it is. Whenever there is an active, constant trading between bot lane or mid lane, Blaber is there to punish. So that's going to be awful for FBI. He's going to be losing the stacked wave now.
Oh, Blaber gets the pushback, but not close enough to the wall to get a stun. Now Contractz coming back in mid as Emenes just says, nope, I'm running away. Back down into the bottom side. River flash away for the bandage toss. Emenes survives. Yes, he's going to miss out on some minions, which is pretty important, but now Fudge is ready to skip down into the mid lane here. Nice use of the Hallowed Mist to avoid the bandage toss from Contractz. Remember that Contractz already flashed here. He's got no way out. Accelerated Shock Blast going to give Emenes the assist on Fudge's first blood.
If you won't come to Fudge, Fudge will come to you. He's ganking mid lane. He's like, you won't be the jungler for me. I'll be the jungler my damn self.
He asked Blaber, what's your pathing this game? Bot lane? Well, I'm going bot lane too.
Nicely done from C9 there. It's Emenes who ends up going the long way around, making sure he doesn't give away the kill, and then sticks around long enough to still contribute for the assist at the very end.
It was nice to play by Emenes, but I want to see that replay again, because I don't know if it was just me, but I felt like Palafox could have just walked in his face when he was trying to run down, right? Palafox seemed to be playing that very kind of afraid. Potentially thought, maybe someone from C9 was going to be there if he really stepped up, but it was like Palafox kind of just let him walk past, and he had flash, he had a big HP advantage, so I was kind of thinking that, looking at, this is the follow-up play, unfortunately, not the one that I was thinking of. This was obviously just the chase down onto Contractz. He'd already used his flash, so Blaber feels safe to just flash in, apply the red buff slow, apply the Q slow, and guarantee that kill for Fudge, but the earlier play was kind of what I was curious about.
Uh-oh, Emenes has no flash out this time. Oh, but that last bandage toss doesn't hit him, so that means Emenes survives, but unfortunately he is going to be stuck back underneath the turret, has to use the potion. The minion wave is coming to him. Down about 20, we'll be able to heal that up to about, 13, 14 CS deficit, but down there in the bottom lane, it's the same story being told with Berserker's advantage.
Okay, so this is the part I was actually thinking of. So he already used his chain, so maybe that's what it was. Maybe he didn't actually have his cooldowns back, but we'll have to see exactly when this does come in. And this is what I'm talking about. I feel like Palafox should be moving to this area and kind of cutting this off. You see what I mean? When Emenes starts to run out, Emenes starts to run out here, Palafox just goes back this way as though he's afraid of actually losing out on a trade. I feel like Palafox just needed to step up and play between where Emenes was and his exit path. Of course, he doesn't have full information on where everyone from Cloud9 was, so maybe he was worried that he was running down that way to Blaber and the Blaber wasn't coming through the river. He was actually coming through the jungle or something like that.
Yeah.
But it did feel like it was a bit misplayed.
Right, we saw both Blaber and Zven coming up through that bottom side river, so he could have thought, okay, if he's going this way, if I run directly into him, I'm just going to get jumped on, hit with a crash down, shattering strike, something like that. But since we have perfect information, we know that it didn't work out.
Yeah, and just think about how punishing that is for Contractz particularly, because that was the second gank that he had went for. He spent quite a bit of time going through mid lane, not having farmed up his top side. Now he's there. So for a jungler that has been doing that just to try and get an advantage there for Palafox so he can then look towards going bot lane to roam, now he's going to be considerably behind.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, he is down a few camps. At the very least, they did deny a lot of the farm from Emenes, so he's down.
Yep.
Quietly, though, Berserker's up 20 CS. Zven and Berserker have been looking really good in this 2v2 down on bot side. We saw that early trade, put FBI really far behind, and I think made him take a pretty poor base where he was missing out on a lot of minions.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. All the attention from Contractz in mid lane has given that plus 20 advantage for Palafox, but Berserker's made it up here in the bottom lane over FBI's Xayah. And when Kai'Sa's far ahead, it can just feel really suffocating because of how aggressive the champion plays. Blaber now looking for the move here on Palafox. Crash down finds him. There's the to the skies, and Emenes takes him down.
It's just a mid lane fiasco throughout the day. The same thing happened to APA earlier on with both support and jungle going through, and now Palafox is having the same experience.
Yeah, it's really difficult. When Puppey gets in on top of you with the W pop, you can't distort out. Then the crash down came through. I'm not sure if there was a slight little window before that crash down landed after the Poppy W expired that he could have got out, but that would have been his opportunity, or he would have had an early flash in the Poppy W and just create that space. But it's a really nice CC chain there from Cloud9. I think Palafox felt he was going to be able to survive that CC chain, be able to get out without popping that summoner, and unfortunately for him, does end up going down, and Emenes gets the kill. So now the CS lead in mid really means nothing because the gold is going to be equalized.
Exactly. It's huge that Emenes was the one picking it up. Make sure that he's not falling behind the pace of the game on a champion like Jayce that really needs to at least stay on that same tempo.
Another thing, coming into this game, we talked about how NRG is a team that wants to try and basically fight in the dirt with Cloud9, and so they become a lot more scrappier games. In this game in particular, Zven is moving a lot. He's moving a lot towards mid. If he seems like there's going to be a fight, Emenes is hanging on just so that can happen. Where statistically, like the jungle proximity between Blaber and Zven has been really low because Blaber is an efficient jungler. He'll be farming or trying to counter jungle to punish the enemy jungler, but this game he chose to look to try and hover for lanes, and Zven has been doing that well. So maybe it's the prep for this specific game. Maybe this is the ideal draft they see for the rest of the week. Let's see.
IgNar trying to jump in there, but Zven with a crash down defensively to escape it, and Berserker just trades back onto IgNar, and you can see just on the side of the screen there, another chunk of health bar at the very end means C9 is consistently winning out in these 2v2 trades. There's nobody else on either team even close to this part of the map right now. This is just C9 getting advantages in the bot lane matchup.
Yeah, it's looking really good for them in that bot lane 2v2. And Fudge is going to quietly create that advantage for himself on the top side. He got the early first blood from his roam on Gwen. And Gwen, when you get the Riftmaker completed, tanks just can't compete with you anymore. It becomes almost impossible to actually take winning trades. As Emenes firing back and does force Palafox to distort back.
Oh! Forces out that flash, too. Really putting the pressure to Palafox.
Yeah, Emenes just understands his role. If Blaber is just doing the Rift Herald, then he's fine, just already stabilized his lane. And also the push top lane from Fudge allowed that free Herald without bot lane push. So, I mean, I love seeing this level from Emenes. Been a little inconsistent throughout the split, so him being able to eke this lead after absorbing a lot of pressure is nice, but Contractz forced the flash.
Yeah, Zven was kind of just calling their bluff a little bit there.
Yeah.
And he's walking in, there's no damage dealers there. Yes, he can't deal the damage himself, but they know Cloud9 members are coming. And eventually his presence forces that flash from Contractz. As Contractz did not want to risk getting stuck in that pit. Herald going to be dropped. So yes, they do trade out for that dragon on bot side. It's not going to be a full tower as obviously Blaber is retreating. He's not going to be staying around, but they will get that couple plates, and Emenes going to be sitting pretty here in this mid lane. Shiv, though, completed on the other side for Palafox, so he's definitely still relevant in that matchup. Yeah, and I think there's going to be quite a bit of pressure on Palafox to have a good game here, and that's partially why I think Cloud9 are putting a lot of attention towards him, because bot lane 2v2 was won naturally, you know, through their own kind of play in that 2v2 matchup. Top lane is already going to be going Fudge's way because of the nature of the counter pick. So it's really just mid lane that is this swing matchup, I feel like, that NRG could potentially get ahead in and maybe move that around the map. So that's why Cloud9 is just constantly going back here.
Yeah, and NRG should be at least pretty comfortable with that throughout the split. Jungle proximity between Contractz and Palafox was really high, the highest in the league. And so that is just how they want to play. Playing through Palafox and him being on LeBlanc, and then naturally as they're
not allowed to do that, actually.
Oh, here we go, sad.
Well, they're allowed to do this. Emenes jumped on a 3v1. The CC chain just way more than enough for him to survive, and that's easy money over to NRG.
There will be a competitive ruling coming out for Fudge
Yes.
for leaving top lane pre-14 minutes.
That's what
Not
they
allowed
get.
to do that in the LCS or anywhere else.
Also, what did Emenes do to them? It's just been constant. I know we saw the sign in the crowd saying buff Yasuo, but we basically have a Yasuo in this game, and like they have just went straight mid to try and punish him.
Well, that's a testament to him being able to avoid it then, that is actually his first death of the game, despite all the attention they've been giving. Of course, the big advantage is being seen there in the CS numbers, plus over 30 for Palafox compared to Emenes, and he's also got 2 plates picked up.
I think we've been seeing a lot more of this, it feels like, in the last couple of weeks. You know, a lot of teams against EG were doing this to JoJo, kind of just giving that mid lane treatment where they're, you know, using that bot lane to just roam up and constantly force his Blaber's looking.
Blaber forcing out the Featherstorm from FBI, so at least that's not available. But now Palafox getting jumped on by Emenes, but he's in a 4v1. Emenes, that's not where you need to be, and FBI's getting the money this time.
That was a terrible death from Emenes, so we were just kind of praising him for being able to avoid some of the pressure. You know, he was down in farm, but had receiving a lot of pressure, only had died that one time. And then, I mean, they had full knowledge on everyone that was there. Blaber was fighting him. It's not like it was a surprise. And he kind of just walked up. He's like, yeah, sure, let's do it.
Surely it was not him this time. He's thinking about the Jayce incident. He's doing a great job. Let's hope that it doesn't get there.
Oh, man. All right. Emenes is slipping a little bit here as we're getting towards the end of laning phase. But Blaber's coming bottom. Remember, FBI. There's no ulti on the Xayah. Blaber immediately finding the wall bang. FBI using both summoner spells there. I don't think it's worth it. You're never getting out of that in a 1v3.
Yeah, with no ulti, there's no real way out. Try to make something happen in that 1v3. Great aggressive play here from Blaber, though. That is something he's really adept at, punishing those missing cooldowns. Knew that he had forced FBI's ultimate out earlier, goes right down to bot lane, and is able to get that with a kill.
That's always been the case with C9's forward thinking. When they're behind in games, they will always think about of course, most important, like which sums are gone so they can make a play. That's how they ended up really being close to getting the win versus Team Liquid. And in this game, kudos to him finding that dive bot lane on FBI. Yeah,
it's just going to be so much pressure now on Palafox. I think they need to continue going towards mid lane. That is really the only lane I feel like NRG have to play through right now. You try to get that pressure for Palafox, allow him to move around the map, allow him to kind of create pressure, group up with Contractz, group up with IgNar, look for picks in the jungle. And Cloud9, though, knows that is where it's going to be. And that's why they're going to be here covering him.
Yeah, hopefully as the game goes on, you can put LeBlanc on a side lane, a longer lane once turrets start going down, so then it can threaten Jayce. The only problem is if Poppy will match it, then suddenly that W is going to be so valuable versus Amumu and LeBlanc. With how well right now Cloud9's playing, they will be able to, I think, win that.
And I do think in an extended lane, it's going to be difficult for even a LeBlanc who's in a good spot to actually match the Gwen. The Gwen is going to be a problem, right? I don't think that they have a great answer to it. LeBlanc can go side lane and just maybe clear waves, but that's not really what you want. You have your person who's in this position of power to just be doing, be clearing waves and doing nothing else. So K'Sante for now just going to be staying up in that top lane with Fudge. We'll see what his success is going to look like in the 5v5s, though, as Gwen really can threaten the backline in a lot of these fights.
We've got 10 seconds until the next Drake spawns. Fudge has teleport. Palafox has teleport. Dhokla and Emenes do not, but it's Dhokla and Fudge who are not already at the fight. So this could be a man advantage for C9. If NRG's not aware of it and try to commit to a fight, they could be staring down the barrel of a 4v5.
Yeah, as you're saying that, Fudge is making the rotation down, so he doesn't even need to use teleport. He'll probably be eating up mid lane wave, as Palafox is as well. And so that's just going to be a numbers advantage for Cloud9. Easy Dragon.
And I like when top laners do this, honestly, a lot of times more than when they actually just TP down to Dragon if a fight breaks out, because oftentimes you're just going to be late. If you just walk down from top lane, he had already pushed out top, he moves towards mid, catches part of that wave. He's there immediately if anything breaks out. He's there to help Prio in mid lane. And then, if he needs to, if there's a lot of pressure back on top, he can just TP back up towards top lane. Yes. So, I do like when you have that pressure, you make that move, you don't get lazy with it. And Fudge has been doing a good job of that. His pressure through top was a move down towards mid, got him first blood. It was also what allowed them to get Herald, and now it's what allows them to get Dragon.
Yeah, it's a great idea of being able to accept sacrifice. Not necessarily Fudge in this case, because he's going to be eating the mid lane wave, so it's mostly on Emenes to be like, yeah, he's the one that's accepting the sacrifice.
It's a great idea from the top laner to accept that the mid laner is unfortunately going to have to give up his wave here.
Emenes, I've got some rough news for you. That's my minion wave now.
No, don't worry, I'll hold mid.
Yes.
C9 don't want to give away this Herald for free. NRG's bringing in a teleport. They don't want to give it up either. They're ready for the 5v5. Herald smited by Contractz. C9 cannot arrive in time to contest the objective. IgNar flies over the wall with a blast cone, but NRG don't want to engage. They already got what they came for.
Contractz looked for a flash, though. He tried to actually go for a flash engage, just couldn't find it. So a bit of a swing and a miss. So they will get the Herald at the end of the day, and they did get I thought the one teleport down, but no, it wasn't actually a teleport from Emenes. I guess he just walked up there. So at the end of the day, they do come away with that slight advantage. The gold lead pretty much dead even. It's just kind of the tale of two lanes, right? You know, the edge for NRG is through mid. The biggest edge right now for Cloud9 is through bot. So it's who's going to be able to perform better, who's going to be able to utilize the advantage that they have been gifted from their team and from their early play.
That's why they have to be the loudest voices in Cloud9 sense. Like, they didn't see an angle in the fight. Berserker was looking for an alt angle right behind the Rip Herald pit, so he didn't even see it. It's like, why not? Why take the fight? Especially with both these teams that have talked about over willingness to take fights that are losing. If you have a lot of confidence in your hands, and a lot of the times NRG's losses, they would talk about it as like, oh, when we're ahead, we just take stupid fights. Well, in this case, Cloud9 didn't want to, so backed away from it, and now going to be giving the farm to Berserker.
Interesting item choice here from Blaber. A lot of times we're seeing the even shroud on these tanky junglers these days, going for the locket of the Iron Solari instead for a more defensive option.
Yeah, I have seen more people kind of going into this sort of tech, especially if you have a support who's going to go Even Shroud. I've seen people do it, so I'm expecting that Zven will grab the Even Shroud, he'll go lock it, and then if there's a good amount of AoE damage, it can be really effective. What I had seen people most doing it against was things like Rumble, where it's super obvious AoE damage, but Amumu does a lot as well. There is going to be some damage coming across from things like the LeBlanc, so can be quite effective if you feel that your opponents can only win in that upfront burst. And when you're looking, you're seeing Amumu, you're seeing LeBlanc, you're seeing all this kind of upfront damage, you're thinking, all right, if Kai'Sa survives, if Jayce survives that immediate early moment, then we can win the fight in the long run.
C9 trying to force on the tier 1 mid turret, get the last little bit of that HP down, but NRG with the threat of Contractz from the side forced them back before they could do it. Dhokla trying to apply similar pressure here to the bottom lane, but the Herald that NRG got themselves earlier is going to be the X factor. That immediately pops that tier 1 turret in mid as C9 again approach looking for something, but NRG disengage.
Something that I see a lot from Zven as we're seeing a rotation towards top lane, so Fudge is backing away, is that at least when they were trying to look for a pick on mid, FBI was walking forward to clear out the wave. Zven just kind of loops around the turret to force a dive, essentially, if FBI doesn't get any help or if he tries to walk up the wave like that. So small things like that, giving them advantages, and then forcing Contractz and IgNar's hand to walk up to the mid lane wave.
But NRG playing the map well. They get the tier 1 turret down in bot lane. They get the tier 1 tower up in mid lane, and now pushing forward. Probably going to be able to get this as well. So 3 towers in about 2 minutes there across the map and opening up a nice little gold lead for themselves. Dhokla trying to back off, and will be able to do so successfully as Blaber was moving down, seeing if there was any sort of an option to look for a gank, but they're really going to get nothing back on the Cloud9 side. So quietly, NRG has now opened up a nearly 2,000 gold lead over these last couple minutes.
3 turrets to 0 stings, man. The Drakes are even, so it's not like C9's been stacking up towards a soul or anything like that in response. Nicely done from NRG, and they're having a similar performance to what they usually do against C9. They're just playing up to their level.
Always feels like that's been the case for NRG when it comes up to the top teams in the league. Golden Guardians, their win there, Team Liquid, and then Cloud9. It just feels like they play up to the competition and have quite smart players. And a lot of the times when it comes to team fights, they just get overhyping.
Yeah.
And it seems like they've been much more disciplined and now have a 2K goal lead versus Cloud9 this game.
It's always funny though, because they also seem to play down to the level of their opponents.
Yeah.
When they're playing a team that's at the bottom of the standings, they tend to pick up a lot of losses against those spots. So they are a little bit of an enigma as a team. It is kind of fun to watch.
It's like a game with level scaling enemies. It's just, if you're level
playing
1,
Diablo 4.
Yeah, if they're level 1, you're level 1. If they're level 99, you're level 99.
Oh, God.
Oh, no, man. Well, NRG's on the level this time around. Plus 2,000. You already said it, Isaac. These guys are in a great spot to keep on fighting. They're going to secure themselves their second Drake of the game. And Cloud9 are okay with it because they're going to trade some of these turrets back and try to equalize the gold a little bit. Berserker will get solo gold up here in the top lane on that tier 1. Contractz picks up that first Ocean Drake, second Drake of the game for NRG, third Drake of the game overall. But you can see NRG still having FBI clearing out these waves nice and early to protect that last sliver of HP on the NRG tier 1.
I will say, while it is kind of playing to that expectation that NRG can be competitive against C9, it is not playing to the expectation of a really fast-paced, aggressive game.
Zven counterattacking with Magnet Storm as Palafox tried to go in after Berserker, but now it's a massive punish onto NRG as C9 find the enemy mid laner. They get his flash, they get the kill. Still, IgNar is very low with no ulti. This is going to be tough for NRG to stop, but they got to do it. They can't afford to let this game go this way.
Man, NRG was playing way too fast there, where Palafox was a little bit higher up in tempo going up to the top lane wave, but they just saw an angle, wanted to take the fight, but Fudge didn't even need to TP there that quick, but they got pushed off of Baron.
Nicely done from NRG there, fighting him off. The threat of Amumu. He has the bandage tosses, he has the flash, he has the ulti.
Yeah.
If you're grouped up in the pit like that, because the game is still so close, NRG can stop you and really evaporate some health bars.
Absolutely. I mean, if you get stuck in that pit, 5-man Amumu wall, you have the Featherstorm and everything coming out from Xayah as well, there would be a really dangerous situation from Cloud9, but yeah, it's a really close game between these two squads, which we have come to expect, but usually it's a bloodbath. Usually it's back and forth action, non-stop kills. This has been a very measured game. There has been a lot of pressure. There has been, a lot of map movement, trading of objectives, but it has not been a really bloody, really active game as far as the team fights are concerned.
Yeah, credit to Cloud9 paying more attention to lane state, in this case, Emenes getting bullied. But Blaber was there pretty consistently. Take a look at this pick, though.
Ooh, Dhokla trying to go all out for not a lot of result here, just knocking Zven back about 2 feet, and Zven flashes him the Pepega Frog emote, and just took no damage.
And there was no damage dealers behind him, right?
Yeah.
It's just him and the support. So without Palafox there, without FBI there is not a lot of threat onto Zven, and he knows it. So just gonna be able to easily back it off. And they are just kind of buying more time for Fudge to play through side lane. He did go towards Snatchers. That does generally indicate you want to play more through the side lanes, more towards that split push than the straight up 5v5 builds where we see a lot of people go for like Zhonya's and Cosmic Drive and things like that. So we'll see how he wants to play it out and if he can actually find those opportunities to catch someone from NRG in an extended lane.
Quite a bit of damage there from Palafox. And to kind of finish this thought about how NRG is playing versus Cloud9, a lot more discipline, a lot more, I guess, respect to the vision game. Sucks to say after Palafox ended up dying around Baron area, but they were able to kind of dissolve that situation really quick. So it's really nice to see from NRG's side. That being said, they've given up the gold lead now to Cloud9.
Exactly. C9 finally busting that tier 1 turret in mid means that the gold lead has completely disappeared. That plus 2k for NRG no longer exists 23 minutes into the game. It's just back and forth, and it's really all about what you're saying, Isaac. Neither team wants to be the one to make a mistake. We're so low on kill count, only 6 in 23 minutes.
It's also interesting because I generally feel like when you get into a game set like this that is slowing down and both teams are happy to play sides, both teams have a read that they are advantaged going into the later stages, that they are going to be in a comfortable position, that they're going to be able to execute better than their opponents, and someone's going to be wrong, right? And that's always kind of the fun thing, is that you can have such different reads on the game state, on how a game should go, on how a game should be played out. It's like how you can have a draft, and sometimes you'll talk to both coaches after the draft, and they're like, man, I smurfed that draft. I blasted that guy. And then you go to the other one, and he's like, man, they didn't even see that coming. Like, they got no idea. Just absolutely bamboozled, And so it's funny, and I do always find that interesting, that both teams are clearly very comfortable to play this game out slowly and feeling fine with the way that it's going.
Well, I'm just waiting for the team fight, man. Get the Ring of Fire closing in or something. I'm ready to see some blood in this one. We have another 60 seconds before the Drake, but C9's coming in on Contractz. He has to flash over the wall to escape. Teleport's coming in from both sides now. Nice charm from IgNar, ready to lock down Emenes. It's the delivery system again. C9's mid laner gets dropped.
That is huge for NRG because Palafox didn't even match the TP. He's still down in bot, so he's going to push down that bot lane tier 2. Dhokla should be able to retreat. But they have this LeBlanc now with a Sheen who's building towards Lich Bane. So this is like full-on split push build here as well from Palafox. He is looking, to just kill off these side lane towers here. Is going to be able to work through them pretty damn quickly. And C9 give up a bit of a freebie off of what they thought was going to be a pick onto Contractz and a potential Baron.
It's Tower Terror LeBlanc. If you are not going to team fight, then LeBlanc is just going to kill all these structures in the side lane with those little bloops and make it so C9's hurting.
I mean, it's one of those things, right? Like, everyone talks about this as the poke build, and it is great for poke, but obviously, it's really good at actually knocking down the side lane towers as well.
Yeah, so after that one misplay, it's going to feel so good for Palafox. So just taking a look at that, Emenes definitely misread the play, TPing right on top of NRG squad when they thought they had a pick on towards Contractz. So it's going to be really punishing to see that. And, Gwen and LeBlanc were trading sides on side lane. So the fact that now they can just punish this way. Baron's starting up here for Cloud9.
Yeah, C9 are saying we know they're on the Dragon. Let's try to rush the Baron instead. NRG's ready to fight him for it. Baron's still at about 8,000. They're not burning it down quickly. Dhokla trying to keep Zven and Berserker away. Fudge's already popping the Hallowed Mist here in the middle of everybody. Now it's Dhokla with a massive 4-man engage. IgNar still looking to disengage himself. Now it's Fudge has to go into the stasis. Zven's taken very low. They're finally going to burst him down. First kill of the fight over to NRG. Blaber's in the middle of everybody, and he has to try to escape with a phase rush, but a nice knockback from Dhokla. Now he's all out. Now NRG have already found the kills they need, and they still want more. Emenes trying to fight back. Berserker goes on a killing spree and picks up Dhokla. Emenes chasing after the enemy AD carry, but he won't be able to find him. Berserker's the last man standing, and IgNar knocks him down. C9's only got one man left, and NRG racked up a body count.
What a close fight there, but NRG all survive with slivers of health. Able to hold on for such a long time here. They had 2 members down towards that dragon. They go for the completion on it, and Cloud9 just make the call that we need to force that Baron. We need to make something happen here. They try to look for this play onto Dhokla, but Dhokla finds a 3 or 4 man stun there with his W, a 4-man knock up to follow, and then as Contractz arrives, it's a 3-man ulti from him. FBI is untouched in the back line. Blaber's trying to go forward, but the carries from NRG were able to reign supreme.
Playing that line of recognizing you're just buying time for the people who are taking Dragon to come up and round out and take an actual 5v5 fight is so hard usually. And so Dhokla buying the time, disengaging off that 4-man queue, and just once Xayah was able to participate, NRG looked online.
And that is such a frustrating end to the fight. You look at how low those health bars were. Emenes getting kited around. Then Berserker has cleanse. He thinks that maybe he can make something happen. He gets in there, but he goes down as well, not being able to finish them off. Look at the damage from both Emenes and Berserker, but they only killed 1 man. They did 90-95% health of like 4 members, it felt like. Only got the 1 kill.
Yeah, the fact that Xayah was able to output that much damage when not even participating at the initial point of it really speaks volumes to how much time NRG bought for their dragon takers there.
Yeah, and now they're on Soul Point right there, 1 dragon away from an Ocean Soul. They're 4K up because they kill off Cloud9, they get the dragon, they get the Baron. So at the end of the day, they took absolutely everything from this scenario. Cloud9 had slowly worked their way back into a pretty good spot. They decided to really force it at the Baron, but it all went bad.
So one little bit of a problem with NRG's lane allocations here, because Dhokla was the one off to the side in the Thor 1. He's the only one who doesn't have the Baron, because he's the only one who died in the team fight. So that means they didn't have 2 empowered lanes. Now they're grouped up as 5. Tier 3 turrets already down to 1/3. Zven goes in with a Magnet Storm on to 3. A little bit of damage onto Contractz, but he won't die yet, and Zven's already down in the counterattack. NRG are ready to go in for the full dive, but they've already lost Dhokla. Fudge is ready to snip them down. C9 has won 2 for 1 here in the fight, and they've stopped NRG for now. Palafox goes back in, but he won't clean up any more kills.
Narrowly able to hold on to their inhibitor here. They go for that fight. They focus down Contractz. Zven was always going to trade his life out for it as he was going forward. They just find this moment. Contractz stepping forward, they get the stun, and you can see Blaber faking out with the ulti, charges that up, and then as Contractz steps up, he gets pulled back by Zven and then slammed to the wall here from Blaber. But in goes NRG. You can see that IgNar's diving into the backline, trying to create space, trying to zone off those carries. Dhokla gets into the backline as well, putting pressure on Berserker, forcing him to use the killer instinct back. So they didn't have it for this moment now, where Fudge is pushing forward, and you think all of a sudden, hey, maybe Cloud9 can really run over this fight, but Emenes was low, Berserker had no ult, and he was low as well.
Yeah, great setup as you illustrated there. Would have loved NRG to play just a little bit slower. Even without Baron, Dhokla can still do quite a bit by pulling a member off of mid lane wave. So if you ended up taking the mid lane, it was really far back, right in the center of the map, but would have been the play, obviously.
Abyssal Mass completed for Contractz here. Really good for vamping his own damage, ramping his own damage, but Palafox too, going to get a lot of value out of that one. And we have 60 seconds now until Cloud9 has to stop NRG from taking the Ocean Soul. It's important to note, Baron is also not on the map for another 3 minutes, so it's not like you can try to push and pull across the rift that you can sometimes afford with these Soul objectives. C9's got to be ready for this.
And I think if they give it up, I think it's probably lights out. There is, a really tanky front line here for NRG already. This is not like an AP hybrid Amumu. It's a full tank Amumu, and it's Dhokla up on the top lane on K'Sante that is going to make things really difficult. So we're seeing that Cloud9 trying to play for some vision. They have 1 ward here. They have the pink in the side brush there. They have another pink over here. So they're trying to get some vision out. They're trying to get some wards out. And we can see on the other side, NRG is moving around with these sweepers, trying to clear out all these wards. Contractz does catch the only ward that was in their territory. But Cloud9 trying to maintain some presence around the dragon, and that's why we're seeing Blaber and Zven just camping out here. They're not going to go back to base. They're going to stay around, and they're going to try to maintain position, force NRG to play in through them.
NRG with a 4,000 gold lead. It's meaningful, but it doesn't guarantee a win. Blaber soaks a little bit of damage here on the start. Palafox just wants to try to poke at these guys. NRG starting up the dragon. Dhokla's ready to frontline. Notice the Q3 charged up. The Intofo strikes
Dragon's
are ready
going
for the
down,
knockback. Emenes with a shock blast over the wall. Poppy Copter's ready to fly, but where is it gonna land? Oh, nice! Unstoppable from Dhokla to guarantee that it won't work. Now Blaber's stuck in the middle. All out from Dhokla brings him back into the waiting arms with a nice re-engage coming out from Zven. NRG have to try to regroup now as they've managed to put a man into the back line, and FBI's taking out Zven. Emenes and the rest of C9 trying to fire back, but Contractz won't drop just yet. Kill back on the Fudge coming out from FBI. NRG are gonna take the fight. They're gonna take the Drake. They're gonna take the soul. They're gonna take everything from C9.
Man, NRG playing for space there. That block from Blaber's ulti, so all members of NRG were in position to take the fight. Even with Palafox and Dhokla chunked, that allowed a space for FBI to walk up and just clean up.
Yeah, it was a great buffer there from Dhokla. Immunes that, then goes all out, pulls Blaber back into his team where he's forced to flash out immediately. Blaber's basically instantly out of the fight. And NRG are just doing an incredible job with this front line here. Palafox has been dipping back and forth, always putting pressure on them, looking for that poke. Nice W there, W buffer there, excuse me. And then as Blaber goes forward, he gets pulled back into the team. FBI is focusing him down. He has to flash away. Zven goes in for the engage, but no one's really there to follow up because look at Contractz on the other side. Flashes into the back line, finds a 4-man ulti with the Amumu, which denies any follow-up there from Cloud9 on Zven's engage, and really tore that fight apart.
Absolutely beautiful from NRG, pulling that one off. Now they're 4,000 gold up with that Ocean Soul. Like you said, Isaac, it's not one of those games where everybody's just a glass cannon. The front line on this squad with Dhokla and Contractz being so tanky already, these guys are going to be more comfortable than ever going in trading a couple of punches.
This team is so weird to follow, NRG, because you always wonder what their level of prep is coming into a week, because they have games like these, and you feel like they can hit top 4 quite easily. So I really hope to see like this level of consistency going into playoffs. That would make for exciting series.
All right, NRG starting up the Baron with only 2. Contractz and FBI have plenty of damage to take it down. Percent HP burn from Contractz along with the DPS from the Xayah means everybody else can just play spoiler to a C9 entrance. Free Baron for NRG.
Not going to be contested there by Cloud9. They know they do not have the positioning to do it, and Fudge, while he did have, a solid laning phase there against Dhokla, Dhokla never really was giving up towers. He was never giving up deaths. He kind of just held Fudge just enough. So Fudge has not really been able to get to this place that I thought he was going to get this game, where he had that early laning phase. He was scaling comfortably. I thought he was going to be a demon in the side lanes, and it has just not really been the case. NRG has been able to find the better fights, has been able to execute really well when it has mattered most in some of these key moments. And Cloud9, played this kind of passive early game. NRG was down for it, and they've just executed better in the 5v5s when it counted most. And now you're looking over, and there's so many powerful items on the side of Palafox. He has the Death Cap. You can see that the Maw of Malmortius is already complete, plus a stopwatch from FBI, plus he has his defensive ulti. So it's very difficult to think, how are you going to win this against an Ocean Soul with all the tools that they have?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the 5v5s. Same goes to how they played just the map. That one window in which Cloud9 covered quite a few members for mid lane turret. Immediately Dhokla recognized, took full bot lane turret at the same time. So whenever his name's called up, he goes for it. So it's nice to see. Now, stacking up a wave. This time they have LeBlanc on mid lane wave, so it's going to be a little easier for them to start staggering waves and pressure Cloud9 to respond. Take a look at how much damage Palafox put on mid lane turret.
Easy to just jump in there with the distortion to proc the Lich Bane. Immediately gives you your escape back as well if they try to stop you. Mid lane tier 3 is down, bot lane tier 3 is down, top lane tier 3 is down. All inhibitors are up, but all inhibitors are exposed. NRG's got to be careful now. Their AD carry's already at half HP. Another block from Dhokla, stopping the Keeper's Verdict from finding an ejection. As Blaber's already down to 1/4 HP, they're going to kill him before the fight even starts. Not quite enough. C9's jungler survived. Fudge is 1v2ing against Palafox and Dhokla. The stasis buys a moment. He's still alive and drain tanking, but Palafox picks him up. Now it's a 5v4 on the Rift, favoring NRG once again.
Yeah, and Cloud9, I think they are running out of time quickly in this one. Dhokla going to TP back. Survives with the use of that Gargoyle Stone Plate, and they are pushing in here with the Ocean Soul.
I think NRG just wants to end it here. They know they got 45 seconds until Fudge is back alive. Critically missing all the ultis except for LeBlanc. So NRG's got to make sure they don't just give this one away. Zven Magnet Storm is the big thing to look out for, but once again, Dhokla on the front line doing a great job with these path makers, clearing the way for the rest of NRG. A little bit more poke from the static shiv of LeBlanc, keeping those health bars on C9 just getting more and more dented down as Dhokla finds Zven on the front again, down to about half HP here for the support. NRG waiting on minion waves. First one arrives here in mid. More are coming up through the sides. 10 seconds left on Fudge. NRG have to decide if they still want to try to force this. Ultis are going to be coming back up soon, but not yet. There's the knockback. Counter engage from Zven onto 4. C9 looking for their moment now as they find the damage onto Palafox, but won't be able to kill him off before he goes back into the stasis.
Berserker
here fighting back as FBI goes unstoppable. Berserker needs to find a whole lot of damage here, but he's going to be shut down instead. Fudge is still snipping as Palafox and Dhokla are the last two standing for the side of NRG. C9's last stand, but they're still standing. NRG trying to stay alive as Palafox goes back up the wall. He finds one, but he won't find the last. C9, hold on!
Cloud9 get the ace. Look at their health. They got nothing left. The base is in shambles. All 3 inhibitors are down, but they are not out of the game just yet, as Fudge was able to make such an impact in that fight, getting into the back line after he finally responds. The initial counter engage was great from Zven. Look at this, catching 4 members after Dhokla goes forward. He created the space that Berserker and Emenes needed. They bide their time. Berserker finds an opportunity to get in the backline, and then Fudge coming out with home guards. It's just going straight in. Berserker goes with the killer instinct into the backline. NRG had a great turn onto him, and they're able to burst them down, but it meant that they were stacking up on top of Fudge, who was just chopping them down.
Look at how much he heals.
Yeah, it felt so good from NRG, and Palafox biding his time. Thought he had
That was
3
such
members
tilter,
there. Man.
Ain't no way. They both live there. That is like, oh God, that is so frustrating.
And that's actually the end of the game. If Palafox ends up having the extra 100 damage or whatever to kill both of them, he just walks it in, everybody's dead. With all the inhibitors out of the way and the super minions flowing in, the game is done.
You get to be the main character. You're the only one on the end screen.
Yeah.
And then the setup from NRG was so good. Both mid lane and bot lane waves were synced up. We got 2 double man knockup from Cassante. Another team fight, another day. Let's see if Cloud9 can take it back.
Now the problem here for C9 is all that pressure heading towards their base. It's double super minions in every lane. NRG knows that they're the ones who can play it more slowly. So C9 are the first to kill Emenes. They're ready to try to go for this. Palafox going after Emenes. He might just try to end the game. He's already killed the enemy mid laner. The rest of NRG just has to buy some time. IgNar trying to disengage again as C9 goes for the fight. It's a 4v2 here in the middle as IgNar has to get back around the side. FBI trying to get back in the way. They just gotta buy some time. The Nexus turrets are already falling. C9, your Nexus, C9, it's under attack. They may have won the fight, but it's NRG winning the game. LeBlanc, the Tower Terror, will take the Nexus, and NRG will take the game.
Palafox finds his moment there, gets the solo kill on Emenes, and there was no way back from that position for Cloud9. They're already in the fight. There's no TP on anyone except Emenes. That's why he was answering mid lane. But Palafox knew he could take that fight, was stronger in the 1v1, had the Ocean Soul, did not hesitate whatsoever. You know, I was just watching the minimap when you're talking about that Elder Dragon fight that they were setting up for, and I just see the LeBlanc icon go immediately straight forward onto Jayce. Jayce loses 80% of his health immediately, and then at that moment, I'm just thinking the game's over, right? He just has to get that kill. He just has to find that to secure the win here for NRG. And their success against Cloud9 continues.
It does, and honestly, it's success for Palafox. Player of the week last week, while he was sick too, goes into this game, and as I feel like the performance that continues it. I think the only thing that I ever had on him was like consistency throughout the week or split or something like that, but it feels like end of split, Palafox has been Palafaker.
He's been playing really, really well, but I have to give so much credit to NRG as a team, because this was not one of those crazy games, and we're going to see the solo kill. You know, double distortion forward, doesn't even have to land those chains. He just knows he is in such a power position. Distort comes back off cooldown, W flash, gets the final kill there with the Sigil of Malice, able to take him down. Then on the other side, how do you actually get back to base here, right? There's just no way. You're already engaged in the fight. There's no TP on Fudge. And I think Cloud9 kind of know from that moment that the game is already over. You know, even if somehow someone gets back to base, they have to then be able to 1v1 this LeBlanc that's monstrously strong, and you would be completely giving over the Elder Dragon. So I think it was kind of checkmate in this spot, but NRG played an incredibly strong game here as a team. You know, they were really resilient, I think, in a lot of these moments. And it wasn't one of those games where it was just complete chaos and they just, got a bunch of early kills and ran over a top team.
Right.
This was them playing the map better, actually playing a slow measured macro game and out 5v5ing Cloud9 in all the key moments. Like all the big fights of the game, it felt like were won by NRG.
And I mean, the focus early on, we talked about it. Raz, you brought up the stats about jungle proximity for NRG, wanting to invest in Palafox, Contractz and him, using the buddy system. They invested early in Palafox. The stocks went through the
We got
roof.
the buddy system here, too.
Yeah, it's NRG.
Never kept alone.
Who are absolutely
If I start
loving.
running it down, you guys can talk for me.
Exactly. We all on the same team here, my friends. But now we're joining QTCinderella and Contractz for the Verizon post-game interview.
Hello, thank you, Captainflowers. He's amazing, as always. I'm here with Contractz.
Hello.
The nicest guy in the league. I asked everyone I could. I said, what's the goss? What's the tea on Contractz? They didn't have any.
Yeah, so there's another guy that used to be called the nicest guy in the league. His name is Apollo, and he's one of our coaches now. So now that he's not in the LCS, I had to go ahead and take that one.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's nice of you. Okay, so no dirty secrets you want to spill right now?
Name a player. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, no, how was that game? That game was amazing. Right before we started, he told me that maybe they should have closed it out a little earlier. But what do you think overall?
I think overall, the game was a little bit spicy. I picked Amumu.
Yeah, what was that pick?
It's just another tank jungle that kind of slots into, the Sejuani, Poppy, Maokai role a little bit. And it has pretty good matchups in this meta against the other junglers. And it's just kind of like a little pocket pick. I saw Spico play it a lot.
Everyone got excited to see it.
Yeah, so I had to pull it out for him,
That was awesome. Well, why are you guys so good against Cloud9? What is it?
They just can't beat me. I'm in their heads. I mean, it's true. Every single time I play against C9, somehow I'm just smurfing.
Be careful what you say. They scare me over there. Like a cult.
Why do they scare you?
Oh, they just run their mouths like nobody's business. You don't think that?
I mean, I used to work for them, so honestly, I know.
Is there anyone in the league that you are afraid of right now?
No, nobody.
Oh my gosh, on top of the world.
Yeah.
Well, do you have any advice for Cloud9 after that game?
Probably have to ban more than Ivern Sejuani against me.
Okay, fair. You need to ban out Contractz in order to win. Now that you guys have won 5 games in a row, what changed? What got you here? What got this ball rolling?
Man, losing to all the bottom teams was just such a morale killer for us throughout the split because we know what we're capable of and we know how good we can be, and losing and getting these gold leads and just throwing them over and over again is just it's not something that we want to strive for here at NRG, right? So
I understand.
Yeah, no, we put in a lot of work this past month to improving on those things and just being the best.
It showed off. It has shown off so far.
That. Thank you.
Your old teammate Poon just started his first. Did I say it wrong? What is it? How do you say it?
It's Poom.
Poom?
Poom.
I'm dyslexic. My M looks like an N. Poom.
It happens.
Started on Dignitas last week, and it didn't go too well. Do you have any words of encouragement for not for Poom, but for Poon?
Hang in there, Poon. I believe in you.
Hang in there, Poon. Well, you went undercover as a silver player. That's something I've been doing for 7 years.
I was doing it for first 3 years of my career. So.
Did you really? Wow, you can move up from silver?
It's possible. It takes a lot of work.
Really?
Yeah, it takes a lot of work. A lot of role swapping for me. What role do you main?
ADC.
ADC. What's your favorite champion?
Jinx.
Jinx. That's a good one. I believe in you.
Thank you.
You can.
I've been there for 7 years.
8th year. That's where you hit
That's
your mark.
my year. I think it's my year. Did you learn anything while you were down there?
Slash mute all is a really good.
Oh, I won't do that. No way.
Yeah.
No
You like typing to them? Or?
I do.
Oh.
My
do it
best
sometimes.
friend Poon. I say hi. How's it going down
How's
here?
it going?
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's time to try the tea.
Oh.
And then throw it to an ad break. So hit me with the cheers, and we're gonna drink whatever they put in our cups.
We're doing it with.
Do you have any allergies?
Shellfish. Any shellfish in here? Shrimps?
Maybe not.
I hope not.
Cheers.
Cheers.
All right, well, thank you guys very much. Thank you, amazing job, Contractz. And we're gonna throw it to the break, and we'll see you guys later.
Bye-bye.
Energy. Blaber's in the middle of everybody, and he has to try to escape with a phase rush, but a nice knockback from Dhokla. Now he's all out. Now they're all in. Energy have already found the kills they need, and they still want more. Emenes trying to fight back. Berserker goes on a killing spree and picks up Dhokla. Emenes chasing after the enemy AD carry, but he won't be able to find him. Berserker's the last man standing, and IgNar knocks him down. Energy have to try to regroup now, as they managed to put a man into the back line, and FBI's taking out Zven. Emenes and the rest of C9 trying to fire back, but Contractz won't drop just yet. Kill back on the Fudge coming out from FBI. Energy are gonna take the fight. They're gonna take the Drake. They're gonna take the soul. They're gonna take everything from C9.
Who said you can't teach an old dog new tricks?
Typical beginner's mistake.
Yes, they all start from the outside.
So, will we help him?
What else? Here, try it with Red Bull. Red Bull gives you wings.